Don't settle for bad socks. Get comfort and grip at an affordable price with Puregrip Socks Pro. Choose from 18 different colors at puregripsocks.com.
Should you still be wearing a pair of football boots that came out 45 years ago in 2024? These are the pros and cons of the classic Adidas Copa Mundial. With the quality arguably being above and beyond what you're going to find from the vast majority of football boots out there, certainly for the price, you're just not going to find anything this well made, where outside of limited edition releases, the classic Copa Mundial is the only general release Adidas boot that is still made in Germany, and the way that this is put together definitely reflects that. With the price tag arguably being a pro or a con depending on personal opinion, of course they're still not cheap, but in 2024, a classic black and white made in Germany Copa Mundial retails for $180, or if black and white isn't your thing, you can get one of the many limited edition colorways that they've put out this year at a $20 premium, so $200 for something like this, which relative to other top-end models on the market, these are some of the most affordable top-end football boots in terms of quality of materials and certainly build quality being made in Germany. And when you also consider that the other limited edition made in Germany boots that we've been getting from Adidas this year retail for $300 plus, at $180 for the classic black and white, that's actually pretty decent value. Granted, if we go back 10 plus years, this was a sub $100 football boot, but we can say that about a lot of things, so the fact that these have gone up in price shouldn't be that surprising. Having said that, if you are interested in some classic Copas, you can pick them up below their normal retail prices by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the first link down below. Weight is something that has changed quite significantly in the last 20 years of football boot evolution, and a 45-year-old classic Copa Mundial is not a great example of how lightweight a pair of football boots can be. We're in a size 8.5 US, which is the equivalent of about a 9.5 US in most modern boots. They're going to weigh in at around 320 grams, which would make it the heaviest top-end model currently on the market by quite a significant margin, where just for comparison's sake, if you were to compare these to the weight of a made in Japan Mizuno Morelia 2, which would be a similar style of football boot, granted a lot more expensive, those are going to weigh in at 220 grams in the same size, a full 100 grams less, which is super noticeable both in hand as well as on feet. So overall, if you're looking for a super lightweight feel from your boots, a classic Copa isn't going to provide that. However, for what they lack in weight savings, they make up for in overall quality of fit and comfort after some break-in time. The classic Copa Mundial is very different from every other modern football boot in terms of how it's shaped out of the box, where it's critical that you get the size right. I would personally recommend going a full size down in US sizing compared to the boots that you're wearing right now in order to have the proper fit in length as well as in width, where you basically want these to fit as tight as possible, where it might feel like they're a little bit too small out of the box, but trust me, as you wear them in, this full super soft kangaroo leather upper is going to stretch and form to the exact shape of your feet, giving you that truly custom one-to-one fit that only a Copa Mundial can provide. Despite the custom fit after break-in time though, you will find that the classic Copa won't be as responsive when it comes to making lateral cuts and changes of direction compared to most modern football boots. Certainly if you're comparing this to something in the speed category, the soft kangaroo leather is only reinforced by these 3 synthetic Adidas stripes that do provide some structure on both the lateral and medial side, but overall the boot will have a little bit more give to the upper when it comes to its overall structural integrity, which gives you a lot when it comes to overall comfort, but does compromise a little bit of that kind of harder sidewall to push off of, which in turn does make them feel a little bit slower than what you're going to find from most modern boots, which tend to have a little bit more of that structured, stiffer, more instantaneous reaction when it comes to changing direction. That's not to say that you couldn't be agile in a pair of Copas, but they certainly won't feel as agile as most modern boots. One major benefit of the soft kangaroo leather though is the fact that the touch is just incredible and super consistent across the entire foot. If you like the feel of soft leather football boots, the made in Germany quality and general materials used on a classic Copa Mundial is pretty much as good as it gets. The fact that this has been around for 45 years pretty much says everything that you need to know. If you want that soft, more padded leather feel, this is one of the best football boots still on the market. Something that we really don't worry about that much anymore when it comes to modern football boots is general maintenance, where with the classic Copa Mundial, because of the full kangaroo leather upper that does utilize a little bit of an older style treatment process with a more old school construction, it's one of those materials that you should keep clean. You should make sure that they dry out properly, and every once in a while, it's not necessarily a bad idea if you're finding that the upper is starting to harden up a little bit, that you give it a little bit of leather cream or oil, whatever you can get your hands on. It should all do the same job. In the event that you play in really wet conditions and the boots get absolutely soaked, these are going to absorb a lot more water than what you're going to find for most synthetic boots, and you're going to need to stuff them with some newspaper to just help draw out that moisture so they dry up that little bit more quickly. So if you're somebody that's not really good about taking care of your boots in the sense that you couldn't be asked to clean them and you can't really be bothered to make sure that the leather is treated properly every couple of months, then maybe a classic Copa Mundial isn't the best option for you. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that these are things that you have to do, otherwise they'll break, but if you want to keep the boots in optimal shape, taking good care of them is definitely recommended. If protection is something that's super important to you, obviously the padded leather upper of the Copa is going to offer more general protection than something like a super thin Mercurial or an Adidas F50 as an example, but I think the protection aspect of the Copa Mundial is slightly overblown in the fact that the leather itself is so soft where yes, it does have that padded feel to it, but it just has no real structure, especially once broken in. So if everyone's wearing Copas and they have studs like this and you get stepped on, yeah, that little bit of padding will feel like pretty good protection. But if somebody with Mercurials and just sharper bladed studs in general steps on your feet, there's more protection here than the average football boot, but I wouldn't necessarily say that they're incredibly safe. Again, the softer the leather, the better the touch. However, the less structured the upper, which this is not a very structured upper, the less protection you're going to have. So the padding is there. The protection, I would say, is a little bit overblown though. Certainly better than most, but if you do get stepped on, you're still very much going to feel it. While it's pretty much impossible to guess how long any one pair of football boots will last, I think if you were betting on a pair of boots to last a little bit longer, the durability of a classic Copa Mundial, because of the thicker materials, because of the made in Germany build quality, and pending that you take care of them, of course, this is one of those football boots that I would expect to outlast the vast majority of modern top-end options. The Soleplate and stud pattern of the Copa Mundial is classic to say the least. It's a thicker plastic sole plate that's pretty flexible all the way through, very traditional in terms of its overall feel, with the FG stud pattern being very straightforward, using conical studs all the way through, which for an FG stud pattern, the stud length itself is a little bit shorter than what you're going to find from most of the modern stuff. So for use on slightly harder firm natural grass, this is pretty much ideal. And even on general firm ground, even if it is a little bit softer, I still think the traction is good. It's more so the characteristics of the stud pattern that's something that you're either going to love or hate. If you prioritize having that freedom to twist and pivot, this feels fantastic and still holds up from a performance standpoint, whereas if you're somebody that's sprinting around a lot, making quick changes of direction, and you want as much bite as possible, this is pretty much the exact opposite of that. With the final pro definitely being the option of consistency, I think one of the most common problems that a lot of people run into when it comes to modern day football boots is that they get a pair that they really like, they wear them for a season or two, and then by the time they need brand new football boots, that model is no longer available and they have to go for something new that they might not like nearly as much. The classic Copa Mundial has been available in original form basically for 45 years, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So if this is exactly your cup of tea, when it is time for a replacement pair, you can rest assured that you'll still be able to buy the exact same football boot.